Welcome to our first episode of Learning to Live a Simpler, Less Cluttered, More Beautiful Life. I thought a good starting point would be to give you a little bit of background as to where we've come from and a moment of complete epiphany where we realized that living a simpler life with less stuff made us much happier. And so that's where we're going to start this episode from. So it all really started from when we as a family moved to Hong Kong from South Africa. We piled 3 bright red hard-shell suitcases into the lift of a very modern, glossy, high-rise building in the area called Happy Valley in Hong Kong, which we were living in temporarily. And we squeezed into that bit of space that was left and hit the button that would take us up to the 28th floor. It was all very exciting. We were quite exhausted by the oppressive August humidity, having left a very wintry South Africa. And we had just made our way to Hong Kong Island by high-speed train, which at the terminal we got a blast of humid air on our faces, and it was all quite overwhelming, waiting in the taxi queue, and all terribly exciting at the same time. And as we got into the building, the aircon in the building released a blast of cold air on us, and we were so relieved. And it was quite a change in process that we had to face, but all terribly exciting. And as we were chattering non-stop, looking forward to seeing my husband after a month of being away from him, we knocked and he opened the door, and he was smiling a big beaming smile, but I could see all the love in the world could not disguise the terror that he felt when he looked at us and our pile of stuff that we had lugged from Shanghai, which is where we were positioned before we went to Hong Kong, to Johannesburg, and now brought here to a tiny 27 square meter postage stamp that cost a fortune but really didn't offer much space, and it was temporary lodgings for us while we were looking for permanent accommodation in Hong Kong. He showed us around inside this tiny apartment, and the kitchen was a triangular space that you could move in as long as you kept your arms tucked in, and the bathroom was a marvel of space-saving design, but our lotions and potions comfortably overwhelmed the designer's intention. The bedrooms permitted only sideways shuffling between the beds, and we piled the big red suitcases under the beds, and most of our clothes actually had to stay inside those suitcases because the cupboards were barely big enough to take 2 or 3 hangers. The view, however, was to die for. And so we thought we had learned how to live minimally in our sojourn in Shanghai. And we had moved out of a villa to the south of Shanghai and wanted to move into the hustle and bustle of the trendy financial district. So our apartment in the financial district in an area called Pudong, which overlooked the Huangpu River, was palatial by Hong Kong standards. And this was true not only for these temporary corporate digs, but also for our eventual apartment overlooking the beach on the south side of Hong Kong Island, despite this being a very privileged place to live in. We furnished this place as minimally as possible because we couldn't stand the claustrophobia of our usual standard. During the 5 years that we lived in China, our family underwent a revolutionary change that we've come to embrace as our thing. We've learned to love each other more because we were an island of familiarity and a sea of new. We've learned to live with less because of space constraints. And we've learned to live with or value experiences because we learned that we didn't miss the stuff, but we continued to relish adventure, creating memories together. So when we returned to our beloved South Africa, we breathed in the familiar and rekindled our connections, but we chose to not expand into or even beyond our old space. So we resisted the pull to move up the proverbial hill, which is a literal one in our case, and to acquire a view with additional space. Our favorite family anecdote to illustrate our deliberate relative modesty was as follows. It was our son's second or third birthday, and we held a party at home, and the parents joined in, and one of the mums cornered my husband and said to him, "I remember this fondly, compact living. referring to our double-story, 4-bedroom, leafy suburban house on a 1,000-square-meter property. I really do hope that she watches this and has a little bit of reflective ability left. So yes, we did ignore the Joneses. Then a friend's mom got ill, and we moved her from a typically cluttered suburban home to a care facility. And the complexity, emotional, practical, family and political, was an eye-opener for the two of us. And when we also realized that we liked and we were good at dealing with those complexities, things that other people disliked and therefore they avoided. So, as one does when the stars align, and we started a decluttering business out of this experience. And the partnership lasted just over a year, and when we split, I started anew. I expanded the business model, and I started growing the business. So a couple of years later, my husband, by then retired, studying music and running the house, went from being just the love of my life and my biggest fan to also being my occasional business partner. And he started sharing his corporate business development and systems nous with me, and he coaxed me to grow and to expand. So this is a story of my philosophy of stuff and the ideal place in our lives. I believe that sharing it with people will help you live a more beautiful and more meaningful life as it has for us. And what these Shanghai and Hong Kong events taught me is that some people tend to collect more than they need and that they can sensibly use. The excess stuff doesn't make them happy and could even end up owning them. That is, it becomes yet another responsibility. Well, quite frankly, we all happen to have enough responsibility as it is already. As an aside, clutter also accumulates when people leave ordinary tasks unfinished. The dreaded household admin, in a sense, they collect too much work for themselves by allowing simple tasks to pile up. And we believe that the equilibrium is to strive for, to adopt the definition of necessities. My husband, who's a lawyer by profession, tells me that this is a definition used in divorce proceedings in South Africa, and it indicates more than necessities, but a comfortable fulfillment of needs. Put differently, you need to accumulate mindfully. Collections don't fit under this definition, and collectors, you need to interrogate your motivations for collecting. Mindful collectors tend to be very precise about their motivations and both knowledgeable and purposeful in their acquisition and their organizational strategies. We contrast hoarding from collecting by stressing that hoarding implies stress and impractical outcomes. So your excess stuff is also really needed elsewhere by other people, not just in South Africa, but in most parts of the world. This isn't a story about the latest fad. We aim to be timeless with our advice, rooted in meaning and in experience. To contrast, I once read a book and a blog about a sect of minimalist movement that counts the number of items that people own. A pair of shoes is 2 items, by the way. This particular movement aims for ownership of the lowest number of things. I don't even know what the record is. This topic leaves me cold. To be clear, we're not critical of these movements. People believe passionately about their goals and they're entitled to them. I merely want to contrast our pragmatic, mainstream approach that's based on experience with people like you and me. So let me put it in a different way. Your stuff threshold is subjective. The standard to determine whether you've reached it is quite simple. What adds value to your life? Keep that. What doesn't and won't fit in the near future? Please get rid of that, giving it to someone who needs it, or sell it, or donate the proceeds, or sell it and use the proceeds yourself. In the process of doing this, organize. It's a simple prescription that will fit both your aspirations and the times, and it will leave you feeling better about yourself every single day. So the rest is detail and emotion. More precisely, it's your relationship with your acquisition of stuff. That detail and how to deal with emotion is here in the story. So enjoy the story and the journey towards a happier you and living a more beautiful life. So I'd like to chat about the So Sorted story so far. So Sorted being our company. And where So Sorted evolved from was matching a need to the market and to help people downsize, declutter, move, to my personal passion, which is for living in an organized way, and my ability without judgment and together with a lot of patience to help others do the same. I combine these ideas with a restless entrepreneurial spirit, to a passion. That's the adage that everyone should do what they love, and then they won't do a day of work in their lives. And that's true, but really elusive. Most of us aren't nearly as so fortunate. And as my children became more self-sufficient, I started spreading my wings. At first running a guest house and making and selling jewelry. These things kept me busy, but they didn't hook me. So with So Sorted, I found that passion. My profession as a town planner and a knowledge management consultant, and then as business leader in the same field, combined with my interest in starting a small business, and they all came together when I started So Sorted. My husband reminded me the other day of how lost and useless he felt every time we managed our overseas moves, and how I came alive during those times. In Hong Kong, he was in awe when he came home after a long day at the office to find everything in our new apartment unpacked, organized, and working. Well, of course, this wasn't entirely true, but I managed to put order to the stuff that we needed immediately, and I got to deal with the rest of it in due course. And then we repeated this process twice more. Each time my husband and children were like deer in headlights, and I was in my absolute element. Before starting So Sorted, one of my earliest ideas was to organize clothes swap parties at our home. And our extended friendship circle dialed the desire to acquire more clothes down by donating quality clothes that we weren't wearing any longer or had never been worn into a big pool. And at the clothes swap party, you paid a donation to attend the party, and you could take the same amount of items out of the pool that you donated. And we donated the clothes that were inevitably left over after these parties to a charity. These parties were popular, they were so much fun, and it made people feel really good about themselves. So I've always believed that in the idea that when you find something that you love and that most other people hate, you found your business. So decluttering and organizing became my business. I have another ambition, though, one which I try to implement with every client that we serve. We teach him or her to live this way. I also write blogs, and I participate in conferences and workshops that teach these principles, and I regularly appear in the media. So I know that there's a demand for learning these skills. This material in these videos takes it to the next level. It allows me to reach more people, to give our clients, give it to our clients to read or to watch these videos while we work towards achieving their serenity. During these times of the COVID-19 viral lockdown, this is the best opportunity for us to reach clients, friends, those that need this advice virtually. It excites me. It makes me really happy that we can reach people out there. So these principles reflect our experience with over 250 clients and still counting over 4 years. And we've experienced every possible scenario that has triggered the need for a professional organizer or professional organizing firm to step in and save the day. And people just like you retire, move, downsize, have emotional breakdowns, become fed up with your cluttered lives. Our clients are young, they're old, they span the economic spectrum. And we also deal with deceased estates. We really step in. We hold our clients' hands. We perform our magic. We're often called fairies, always in respectful, close partnership. Decluttering and organizing isn't something that you can outsource entirely. So our story has really just begun. We invite you to join our journey. Next week we look in detail at what clutter is. Hint, it isn't just a definition, but it's a practical philosophy of living life more serenely. And we'll give you loads of free tips as well. So stay tuned for episode 2.